Yep.
We can talk if y'all want us to talk.
Not really. I'm looking at 341 pages.
This is a public hearing.
Did you read all of it?
I said, I'm looking
Public,
at.
not for us.
At this time, I'll call the special call meeting to order, and I'll ask for the approval of the agenda, which is the public hearing on the schedule of values.
So moved.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor of the agenda, please raise your right hand. Thank you. We're down to the public hearing, the schedule of values. It has your name by it, Lloyd, so if you want to have some introductory,
Yes, sir. We've decided we weren't going to really do
excuse me,
yes, sir,
I guess we got to have a motion,
to open public hearing.
yeah, motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second to open the public hearing on the schedule of values. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Now, I'll let you
Sure,
go
no
back.
problem. We had talked about doing a PowerPoint or whatever, but it's going to be just in line with what you've seen the last two times I've done it. So what we're going to do instead is just going to be real brief, seeing no public here. What we're going to talk about real briefly is, again, what the schedule of values is. So basically, it's a guide to the revaluation. It's how we get to the numbers, the revaluation. It's how we arrive at value at the valuation. It's based on, a lot of the numbers in it are based on the work done by Vincent Evaluations, which I have three members of here today. I have the project manager, and of course I have the owner of the company, Ryan Vincent. They worked on this project and have been for, I guess it's been a year and a half now, I guess, or give or take, or whatever it's been, 2 years, I guess, roughly. So they've, of course, put together a lot of data, and a lot of that is in there. Some of the rest is guidance, how we look at certain things. Also, additionally, in there as well is the guide to how we are doing present use value in the county for the next cycle. That is required to be, in or mentioned, how we do it. And we just went ahead and put the guidance of the state. So the state, of course, Department of Revenue guidance is in there. So it does also tell you how those values are and changes. That's a small change. I've had a couple farmers call me and say, we're going to have a big bill difference. They're not going to see it really because that's the present use part of it. And that's only changing a minute amount, which the state puts out every year or puts out to be able to use. So that would be what forest land would be worth, et cetera. So basically, most of it is just that. I know that worked hard on some of the base rates, some of the differences for grades, some of the adjustments. And if you said you looked through it, it is a dense document. In my last county, it was about 900 pages. I think 340 is a nice, slender, good size for a schedule. But you have to have it about that to be able to hit everything. We do have that online currently. We also have a copy in my office, and we have a copy in the manager's office, the administration building. So with that said, I have nothing further unless you gentlemen have any questions for me.
Floor is open for questions.
We're still on schedule for first quarter.
Yes, sir. The plan is still that 1st of February, give or take, is to get notices out. It's been my goal in January, 1st of February.
You said the schedule, there's very little change in the schedule of values, or?
No, sir. There's very little change in the present use value part of the schedule.
Okay.
So we did put the state recommended values for what woodland
Okay.
and everything was going to be in there. We used a direct copy of what the state put out for that because the state is who does the work on that and looks at that. So that will designate what those values will change. And there is a small difference in it, but we're talking in acres that is $400, $500, $600 an acre and 13, 14 changing maybe a little, nothing should be overly significant there.
And just for your information, I didn't realize this until I was in a meeting of the Agriculture Steering Committee. They actually have a board that goes through and makes adjustment on forestry as well as farmland.
So not only that, I think actually several different organizations also have advisory boards to it, if I recall. Right, Farm Bureau and different ones actually do that as well, that all put together. It's a pretty dense document there too, actually, looking at how the county farmland should be valued, the forest land, and of course the horticulture should be. So they're looking on broad scope, looking at soil, etc. A lot of people don't know it. You actually have different values by class.
Yes.
Soil.
To what extent do you think we're going to be, how high do you think
property values are gonna be? Do you know
It's a dangerous
yet?
question. So we're not fully finished with the revaluation. We're still making, and Ryan Vincent and his team are still making changes. What they're looking at now is, of course, finishing up a lot of things, a lot of review as far as that goes. They're looking to make sure that the numbers are in correctly and they balance out against sales, of course, looking at the market heavily. That said, I mean, just to be honest and forthwith, I mean, and this isn't an exact thing, and you certainly don't want to look at this precisely, but just to give an example, I mean, we're seeing like the sales ratio for the county up 40% from last reval. So, I mean, I'm not saying that it would be bigger than that in some areas, be smaller than that in some areas, but we are seeing the county as a whole, of course, has increased that much in market. Just to give a pretty easy, simple example, I've seen a few houses that have resold in this time period, and they've certainly sold for a lot more than they did around 18, 19. So you've had a big increase in market.
So you're looking at just about 5% rise per annum
You probably are more than that in some areas.
in some
Yeah, in
areas.
some areas you'll be less. And there's some areas of the county that just, I mean, they're just not, there's just certain things that don't change. I mean, if you get some, you get some land in a certain part of the county that's out there off a dirt road when it's not been developed or certain things, I mean, you may have a lesser change than here in the middle of Washington. I mean, it all depends. I mean, market factor can be different by neighborhood. Of course, the Vince evaluations took a lot of time doing a delineation of neighborhoods, looking at market areas to make sure that we're looking at like properties, as I mentioned to y'all gentlemen the other night. Like, you want to make sure if you're saying a house will sell for X, Y, or Z, you want to make sure it's compared to other like properties. You don't want to be comparing a house in Aurora to a house in Washington. I mean, the sale doesn't equate. I mean, it's a different market. It's a different factor. You don't want a waterfront home, blindly being looked at like you would a home over where I live. Just this different stuff, so.
Thank you.
Others? Everybody good? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to come out of the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second to come out of the public hearing. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, I also entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second?
Okay, we got three on the floor, I think. So all those in favor, raise your right hand. Katie, I think you had your choice there. So, well, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.